Good afternoon and welcome back. This is US Home Talk. We are live every Wednesday at noon and on demand at ushometalk.com or wherever you guys find your podcasts. We are your hosts, Marcus Walgrave with the South Dakota Home Team, powered by Hague Realtors, Jason Walgrave with Walgrave Real Estate Group at RE/MAX Advantage Plus, and Mike Overson with Luminate Home Loans. Always in studio is our amazing producer and insurance guru, Evan Little. Evan, I'm going to have to give you a shout out, man. Totally love that intro music. I kind of feel like I was getting the short end of the stick here these last couple months, but that was sweet. So thank you for that. We're going to be taking all you guys' questions during the show. Anything and everything real estate. The call-in number is 612-234-7585. Again, that's 612-234-7585. Or you can leave us a message in the comments section on Facebook, and we will make sure that we read those and try to answer those to the best of our ability. Good afternoon, gentlemen. How are we doing today?
Doing good. Doing good.
Doing good.
Good.
I was working on a new intro for us.
Here we go.
Right? You guys want to hear it?
Yes.
Yeah,
Right?
of course.
This is what I'm thinking. Coming to you live from the US Home Talk studios in Savage, Minnesota. It's US Home Talk.
Oh, Evan, did you
I like
record
it.
that? That was a one take.
No, because
That
it's
was-
not right, because Marcus isn't in Savage, Minnesota anymore.
False advertising.
Well, we could just list
False
like every
advertising.
city in the country because we're US Home Talk. So the intro might get a little lengthy, but I can just start rattling off Dallas and Minneapolis and Savage and Sioux Falls and New York and no.
Why not just say it's from the World Wide Web, the information superhighway?
Ooh. The interweb.
The interweb.
Coming to you live from the interweb. It's US Home Talk.
Yeah, hey, there we go. There we go.
Okay.
I
So-
like it.
Learned something new in the last week before we get started here. So in order to host a bingo event, you are in Minnesota required to have a gambling permit, which I was unaware of. My fault that I was unaware of it. So we had our bingo event last night, but it was not bingo. We had to change it to Bargo, and we had to move some things around. But it was a successful event. We gave out, I think, 10 coach purses. Had close to 100 people there, so it was a great turnout. Had a lot of fun.
Wow.
Cool to see clients, customers, and some future clients and customers. So it was pretty cool. So now that I am smarter, now I want to give this knowledge to you guys. If you're going to host a bingo event, you need a permit and a gambling license. So
Unless you're going to do a Bargo night.
Bargo
Then you don't need to
event,
do any of that stuff.
it's not. And Steve on the team, he actually had a better name. He said we should have called it Blingo. So it's a little catchier. So I think next year we're going to call it Blingo. Actually, next year I'm just going to get the permit, so I don't have to worry about it.
Like, who's
But-
going to take you down for that? Seriously.
State of Minnesota called us.
They
last
actually
week.
called you.
Called. Liz spent all week on the phone with the state of Minnesota because somebody turned me in.
So he got you.
Okay. I thought
Pretty sure it's
It
a
wasn't one of your
competitor.
clients, was it?
that surprises me.
It's not the client. They're getting free purses.
It was someone who did
For the
win
ones who
first
won,
last year.
Jason.
It
I
was
think the
someone
one
from
who
last year.
lost.
Yeah, the loser from last year is still
Last year.
mad.
Yep,
Yep.
that's what it was.
Somebody who was just needed that one more number. Felt like it was rigged, and they went after you. So
You guys
thanks
are
for
looking a
sharing,
little,
Jason.
Yeah, you guys are looking a little scruffy this morning. Did the razor break or something, or?
I don't use razors, just straight blade.
I'm
Buck knife.
finally able to grow facial hair, so this is like I'm just proud of that. You know what I
3
mean?
years. 3 years you've been growing that.
3 years
Yep.
running.
Yep.
All right. Well, now that we talked about bingo and facial hair, let's talk about some real estate here on US Home Talk. Today's topic is going to be risks of being overpriced. Yes, it is the spring market. Yes, the majority of the homes in the season of real estate are going to be sold within this season. However, it doesn't matter that we have historically low inventory and it is the spring market. There are risks involved if you overprice your home when you're trying to sell here in our markets.
Number one, you could die. Wait, no, that's not right.
No, I don't. Well, I mean, die of disappointment, possibly. You know.
Yep. Or the stress of not fielding any offers.
Yes. Staying up late, stressing about it, possibly. Death is possible, I guess, if you overprice your house. Not likely. I kind of feel like I gotta mind my P's and Q's now that Jason's been flagged with the Minnesota department here. He's probably
under the microscope.
Every step he takes and
Everything
every word
I'm
he
doing.
says is but anyways,
You're safe out there in South Dakota, Marcus. South Dakota doesn't have stupid stuff like that.
woo.
You're fine. You're protected.
Did you know that every single person in South Dakota carries a firearm at all times?
Multiple.
I mean, you got a side
get your
holster,
facts right. It's
and then you
multiple.
got your shotgun in the
in
the back window of the truck. I mean, that's a beautiful thing.
Hey, Deadwood is in South Dakota, so mind your P's and Q's. Risk of being overpriced. We're going to jump right into it here. I was kind of going over the topic, and I didn't find a list. This isn't a list that I found from any website. These are just kind of a couple of my top reasons on why it's very risky to overprice your home. And in my opinion, the first one is buyers are represented and educated today. So as a seller out there, if you're hoping that you can list your price or list your home at an overpriced amount, and hopefully you're going to sneak one by a dumb or uneducated buyer, it's very unlikely. It's very unlikely. Here's a stat for you guys. This was from the National Association of Realtors. They came out with their end of year survey and study, and more as buyer and seller demographical surveys, what it kind of was titled. But 88% of home purchases were made through a real estate agent or broker. So pretty much 9 out of 10 homes that were bought, I think the year was in 2023. This report came out at the beginning of 24. So just a couple years old that these stats are. And that just, demonstrates that these buyers that are out there, even if it's a first-time home buyer, it is very likely that they are going to have professional representation when they're out there searching for a home.
Yeah, I would say especially with the first-time home buyer. I think that they need, generally speaking, more guidance than a second or third or fourth-time home buyer. But it is, overpricing is, there's this misconception with some sellers, not many. I think that there were more in past years that had this, but still there's some out there. There's this misconception that, hey, they'll just make an offer. The buyers will just make an offer. And they're not going to make an offer. If a buyer's going out looking at 10 homes, 9 of them are priced right and 1 of them's overpriced, they're not going to make an offer. I mean, that's been our experience. That's what we've seen. And I think that's, there's two reasons why sellers overprice. One, because they're a little bit delusional on their home's value. I mean, you can have the exact, and we're all guilty of it. You can have the exact house right across the street, but your house is worth more because it's your house, and that's a very common. There's different levels of this, but that's a very common feeling, right? Well, my house is better, or they think buyers will just make an offer. Hey, let's just see what we can do. Let's see what we can get. Buyers will make an offer. Today's buyers are not making offers on overpriced homes. They're not.
So delusional may have been a little strong word. Let's maybe call it emotional, right? And I think to your point, Jason,
isn't that the same thing?
I guess some emotions are good. I've never heard of delusion being at any beneficial to anybody, but
I think the correct
to
term
your
is
point though,
emotional. Delusion emotional.
delusion. That's it. Hobie, we got a new intro and some new verbiage here in real estate on today's show. But emotional, right? to your point, Jason, exactly. Like, I love my house. And so the features that I have in here, they probably mean a little bit more to me as the homeowner and someday future seller than they will to a buyer. But that's hard to like disconnect that emotion, right?
It is.
Like, I absolutely love my deck. I get to sit out and I get to look over, the valleys of the Big Sioux River area, and it's so beautiful, and the sun rises, breathtaking. Takes my breath. Oh, it's just amazing. 20 grand more right there.
Yep.
And it's like, sure, maybe a buyer will find that feeling 10 years in owning your home, but they sure as heck don't see it on day one of seeing the home for the showing. So, I think that's spot on, right? I mean, sellers, we as homeowners, we value things of our homes maybe more so because we have emotions, we have memories attached to those features of the home. So I think that's a great point. And then to your other point about they're not even going to see it. And that kind of goes into the next talking point on my list. I only have 3 items here on the risk of being overpriced. But Jason, you talked about, well, they're not even gonna, they're not gonna submit an offer. They might not even submit a showing request.
Right.
Again, it kind of defaults to that first one. They're very educated. I mean, if they have all this data so easily accessible to them, they can go on there and they can say, God, I mean, this is like the 10th 5-bedroom, 3-bath, 3-stall garage home I've seen, but this one's $100 grand, more than the other ones. But I'm not connecting the dots here. Like, where's this? You know what? Let's just pass on this one. Let's focus on the 9 that seem to be in the same or a similar price range, even if there's a variation of 20, 30 grand plus or minus. But we're gonna leave that 100 grand out. Because or to another point too, and Mike, I know this is something that's super important in your world. An educated buyer is going to be sitting down with a great team like Mike's over in the financial world, and they're going to have these conversations. Mike, what am I approved for? Okay, that sounds great, but what does that look like in terms of a monthly payment? Okay, well, we don't really want to do the max amount that you said we qualify for, which is awesome, great news for us. We might want to kind of be more in this 100 grand less territory. So then once they set that parameters with Mike, then they let us realtors know, Jason, I'd say, hey, Jason, Marcus, this is what we qualify for, working with a great lender like Luminate Home Loans with Luminate Bank with Mike Overson. And but this is our price range we want to look for. And what are we going to do? We're going to go on there, and that's the homes that we're going to be looking for in the price range that they told us that they want to be searching for. So if you've overpriced yourself, your house might not even fall in the territory of what the buyers are looking for anyways. So you risk that too.
I think that it also can send a message to buyers that the seller is going to be tough to work with. They're going to be unreasonable. They're already unreasonable with the price, the list price of their home. What's it going to be like if we do try to submit an offer, we try to negotiate a deal, and what's, what are they going to say after the inspection and a few items come up that are reasonable requests? What's the deal going to be like? What's the transaction going to be like? So there's so many things, that negative things that can happen to a seller if they overprice their home.
Yeah. I almost think of one mechanic bringing their car to a different mechanic to get repaired, right? When you have agents involved with buyers and sellers, right? It's almost like having a mechanic sending their car to a different mechanic to repair it. So if it's a brake job, right? And this other mechanic that's going to be working on it comes back and says, it's going to be $3 grand, right? Well, the mechanic that sent it to you knows that the brake job is not going to be $3,000, right? Mm-hmm. That's ridiculous. It's not going to cost that much type of deal. So that it leaves a bad taste in their mouth, right? So it's like, so when agents are involved, it's if there's no perceived value for the buyer, this house looks exactly the same, that lot and stuff almost looks exactly the same as these other ones, and they're 100 grand over the price of these other ones. Like, what are they trying to pull here? You know what I mean? And then they just don't even pursue, like Jason would say, then they don't even pursue it. They don't even go away for additional info. They basically just discard that house from their search and they move on to the other ones.
Yep.
So what happens here? You're not getting showings. Maybe you're only getting a few showings. The showings that you are getting, all the feedback is, hey, you're way overpriced from what we're seeing on the market. Okay, well, 15 days have gone by. Today's market, in my opinion, that's not a big deal. Now we're into like the 30 days or 45 days on the market, 60 days on the market. Now your property is going to be falling in that stale category. Now it's going to be perceived of not that it's overpriced, but what's wrong with it?
What's wrong?
Is there something, big ticket items here? Do we have a foundation issue? Is the roof shot? What's wrong with it? And now that's starting to come into the picture. So now you're a seller who's overpriced. Now, been on the market for 60 days, don't have offer. You got to do a price reduction. Okay, but the problem is that you're still on the market for 60 days. So you still have this idea of like, oh, something's wrong with it. So even if you do price reduce it to the price that it should have been when you came out of the gates, buyers are still coming in at like, kind of feel like something's wrong here. We want to do a better job on the negotiation. You're going to lose that leverage. And, price reduction, yes, they can get you in the price to get it under contract. However, if you list your home at the right price out of the gates, you are going to be in a lot better position in terms of negotiations, and you're going to be able to do better and net more money.
And
I think that's something that we haven't said. Yeah, yep. And I think that's something that we said too. I think that's, in my opinion, I think that's one of the big fears too, is that this fear of leaving money on the table. How many times have you heard that? I just don't want to sell it for that. Like, we feel like it's worth more. I just don't want to, just leave 20 grand on the table. So let's make sure I can sleep easy knowing that I didn't leave 20 grand on the table, and let's test the market for 30, 60 days. I understand that thought process. None of us want to leave money on the table, regardless of what we're selling, even if it's something that's little, we want to get a fair price for it. But in our experiences, you will get more money if you come out of the gates at a fair price than an overpriced list amount. So,
and not just our experiences, but you look at the statistics, that you look at the data, and the data is clear. The longer your home is on the market, the less it will sell for. The data is crystal clear, right? Well, I think that Evan, it's about time. Folks,
this is Jeff O'Brien, attorney with Hush Blackwell with the U.S. Home Talk Legal Minute. Minnesota law permits a city to adopt by ordinance subdivision regulations establishing standards, requirements, and procedures for the review and approval or disapproval of subdivisions of property, which is often necessary as part of any project. The regulations may require that a reasonable portion of any proposed subdivision be dedicated to the public or preserved for public use, such as streets, roads, sewers, electric, gas, and water utilities, stormwater drainage, and holding areas or ponds and similar utilities and improvements. Subdivision regulations may also provide that a portion of the proposed subdivision be dedicated to the public for use as a park or playground. A developer may be required to make certain financial guarantees to the municipality to ensure that the proposed public improvements which the developer agrees to make as part of the subdivision approval are in fact made. This is Jeff O'Brien, attorney with Hush Blackwell with the U.S. Home Talk Legal Minute.
That was pretty slick. I'm not sure about the intro and how we squeeze that in every week, but I thought, Evan, you did a really good job. I was impressed with O'Brien. It felt like he was talking pretty fast there. He was getting a lot in 1 minute.
I feel like there may be some enhancement to the speed of the speech there.
I was thinking,
Well, one thing I do want to, and I appreciate you guys sliding that in there, because I always kind of forget when it's my day to host. But guys, we work with great partners here. Check out our information on ushometalk.com. You guys can reach out to us, myself, Jason, Mike, Evan, all of our sponsors, all of our great partners. Check that out, ushometalk.com, and make sure you give us shoot us a message or give us a call on our number 2, which is 612-234-7585. We are talking about risks of being overpriced here on today's show. Before we went into that break there, we were talking about the what happens if your home goes stale. So that's a big risk. We talked about early in the show too about just the overall buyer behavior. What are buyers doing today? Today, buyers are touring more homes than they have in the past. So this idea that, we definitely are not, 3, 4, 5 years ago where there was this sense of like immediate urgency, right? A buyer's like, okay, we're going to go look at some homes. How many we got? We got 8. Okay. What? We only got 6 now? Okay, there's 6. Well, let's go look at these 6. And then when we get done with those 6, we got to run to the office with our sprinting shoes on and write up offers immediately and submit those offers in, lightning speed approach. And that's our only chance that we're ever going to be able to even submit an offer. Those days have passed. They're not here anymore. Yes, it's still the spring market. This is more of a traditional spring market that we've seen over the decades, in which sellers do very well during the spring market. But it's not 3, 4 years ago where that's the case. Buyers are saying, let's go look at these homes, and instead of homes falling off the list, homes are being added to the list, or homes are being upgraded on the list. They're saying we only want to go look at 8 because we got time. And maybe if we get some new ones that get listed today, we'll go see those new ones tomorrow, or maybe we'll see them in a couple days from now. We're going to go take a second look at our top 3 tomorrow. That is what we're seeing in terms of buyer behavior. Buyers have the time to see your home. They have the time to see comparable homes, in the area that they're looking for, and they have time to come back and take second looks in many cases. So, the buyers they're not rushed. So if we're putting them in this position where it's like they're having all this opportunity to see what is out there, and also in a lot of cases take second looks. If you're overpriced, they're going to pass on yours, and they're going to go to the one that is very comparable and is 20, 30 grand more attractive.
And it's priced correctly. They're going to go to the ones that are priced correctly. We're even starting to see third showings. In the last couple of weeks, we've had a couple different listings of ours that had third showings on it. And so holy smokes. You go back 2 years, there was hardly any second showings. There definitely wasn't any third showings. You go back 4 years, and then a lot of times there weren't any showings. There wasn't even any showing. The offers just sent in. I want it. Sight unseen, cash offer closed in 1 week. And so you're right, Marcus. Buyers have a little more. I think that they have a little more time to make decisions, and it again, if you're a seller, don't overprice your home. Don't overprice it. If you're not sure or you're questioning the agent that's doing the CMA for you, the market analysis for you, then go get another market analysis, or go get 3 market analysis. I mean, if that's something that that you're questioning, then just get 1 or 2 additional opinions on it. But price it right. And what is right? Right is what the market value is. It's what the comparables show the market value of your home is.
And what a buyer's willing to pay for it too.
Correct.
Right? I mean, we can knock these out and do exceptional comparative market analysis for our clients, our sellers, and sitting down. But ultimately, even if we're like, cow, I'm like 99% positive this is what your home's worth. If none of the buyers feel that way, then unfortunately that's not what your home is worth. I definitely feel like, when you're a very experienced real estate professional, your CMAs are going to be really good, because you're going to be able to adjust them, have the conversation with your client and saying, hey, this is what buyer behavior is going on in this specific market. So this is what we can expect. Let's list it accordingly. Maybe it is right at the CMA value. Maybe it's a little bit less. Maybe it's a little bit more. That's when your real estate professionals are really going to be able to help you out.
Well, then you got to think about the financing end of things, right? So what's a property worth? It's worth what a buyer will pay. Okay, great. Well, what if that buyer is a finance buyer? Okay, well, then the property is worth what the buyer will pay and what the property will appraise for. So I mean, it's, cash buyer, whatever. You do whatever you want, pay whatever you want. But if you're a finance buyer, which most buyers are, now it's not just about what the buyer's willing to pay. It's what will it appraise for. The appraisal is tied to the financing. Does the buyer have additional cap to gap that gap the distance between the appraisal and the purchase price? Additional questions that need to be asked.
Yeah, the one note that I heard last week, I was talking to someone. It was an older couple selling their house, and I was talking to their daughter who was helping them through the process. And they were talking about bridge loans and a way to get them into their next house without the sale of their current house happening, to make the move easier and things like that. And she told me, she's like, the house already sold. But the close date is out like 60 days. You know what I mean? And they don't want to wait the 60 days to go buy their next house. They want to go buy their next house now, so that they can get moved out and into the new home and stuff like that, and then do the closing of their old house or whatever. And she's like, my dad made the comment the other day of like, so they listed it at X, they listed it at, let's say it was a 475 price they listed it at. Within 3 days, they got 4 offers on it, sold it for 485.
Nice.
Okay. Dad made the comment of, we started too low. We sold it too quickly. We could have got more money if we would have started higher. And I'm like,
Not.
no,
No.
Yeah, that's not how it works. If you would have started higher, you would have only had probably half the showings. You maybe would have got one offer in there, and that one offer probably would have been at list price. But because you had multiple offers on the table, they started outbidding themselves, and that's why you got 10 over the list price. So it's just tough for some people. It's like if it's too quick and it's too easy, and we actually get a little bit more than what we wanted, then we should have got more for it.
I think that's a great segue into my last comment I was going to make on for today's show, and it was a great article that was written by Carol Ryan for the Wall Street Journal. Selling your house this spring, you might need to cut the price was the title of it, and just kind of going into that article, she cites that buyers are showing some hesitancy to 1 in 7 pending home sales was canceled in February, according to Redfin data. That is above the normal rate of 1 in 9, according to Redfin data. And I think that again, that kind of goes back to it. It's like, even if you can get it under contract, if this buyer has a sour taste in their mouth, they're going to look to ways to get out. And I'm seeing that in my market. Offers are falling off, they're getting falling apart, falling through, or buyers are stepping away during property inspections contingencies. And so, it's one of those situations where, you got to be smart. You got to take advantage of the information that you have. Rely on the professionals that are supporting you, your team. And if you come out of the gates at a fair price, I am very confident that you will net the most money at the end of the day. So what do you think, Mike?
I truly think you can't underprice your house in today's market. Right? For example, let's say your house is truly worth $350. The market and all the comparables say it's worth $350. You go in and list at $330. Okay, what's going to happen, Marcus? So fresh listing comes on, right? All these buyers that have their price point set up, I'm looking between $300 and $350, right? And your house is truly worth $350. That's what the market comparables are going to say. But you come in at $330. Okay, what's going to happen in that scenario?
I mean, you're going to have a ton of people who are buyers have been looking for homes. The mortgage rates have been, with the exception of the tariff week, right?
Right.
Mortgage rates have been attractive and they've been stable for months. So there isn't just like one wave of buyers that are sitting right now looking to buy a home. There's multiple of them. And if they see a house that is fairly priced or maybe even a little bit underpriced, they're calling their realtor up. They're saying, we got to get in there right away. You're going to get a ton of showings, and there's a really good chance that you're going to get multiple offers. And then I think it kind of falls into that again, though, Mike. If you're a seller and you want to come at it with that strategy, make sure that you have a real estate agent who has experience in that and can support it and manage it correctly to make sure that you are not feeling rushed when that first offer comes in and says, you got to respond in 30 minutes to this offer. Like we're going to rescind it. So there are some pieces to it. You definitely have to have a good team to take advantage of that. But I think you make a great point. If you will likely have a better experience, net more money in the event that you were to underprice it slightly than you ever will overpricing it. So,
and guess what?
That was a good story you shared.
So, and guess what? So more than likely what's going to happen, like you said, you're going to get multiple offers. People are going to try to outthink, okay, what's the next person going to offer? The real estate agent will say, look, guys, this house is worth $350. I don't know why they priced it at $330, but all the data says this thing's worth $350. Someone's going to come in at $350 to $360, $365 on this thing. Like, at least in our market, that's what would happen. So now all these buyers are like, okay, well, we got to go 1,000 over the next person. What's the next person gonna do? So we get, okay, 350. So maybe we'll go in at 360. Well, then someone's also gonna come at 360. So we'll go 361. well, maybe we should go 362.5 just in case. Like that's the type of thought process that goes on. And so now you field multiple offers, right? And you just got more than what the market would even say for it. If it was worth 350, now you're getting 360, 365 for it, whatever the case may be. But on the flip side, let's say you only get one offer in, right? You list it 20 grand under what it's worth, you get one offer in at the list price. What's that saying?
Well, it puts you in a great position as a seller. You can let everybody know. You guys know as well as we know, this house is priced super attractive for a buyer. We are just not looking to deal with any type of nickeling and diming during a property inspection contingency. We are looking to move forward with this. If you guys don't like it, no big deal. We'll go back on the market and we'll sell it immediately again. So
Right.
it puts that seller in an exceptional negotiation leverage position, not necessarily maybe out of the gates in terms of a price, but there are definitely other events that you could run into negotiations once an offer is accepted, property inspection contingency being one of them.
Yeah. And you don't have to accept the offer. If it comes in, you don't have to accept the offer, right? You can just say, nope,
Yeah.
sorry, deny, wait for other offers to come in.
Yeah.
It's not like
or
you have
wait,
to take
wait for
like
one that.
Yeah, it's not like you have to take the offer that's on the table. You don't have to. You don't have to accept it.
Yeah, I mean, and just being upfront with them, being like, "Hey, we price this because we're looking for an offer that's not contingent upon a home sale, or an offer that's not contingent upon a property inspection. If that's stuff that you guys want, then we have to renegotiate the price. So that there's definitely different approaches. I think it really comes down to whether you're a seller who wants to keep the leverage in your favor, or if you want to hand it over by being on the market for 60 days and letting your property go stale."
Yep. Good points.
Well, as always, guys, as our show comes to an end, we want to thank you all for taking your time to tune in live and for your support of U.S. Home Talk. You can find today's show and all of our past shows on ushometalk.com or wherever you guys find your podcast. This is Marcus Walgrave, Jason Walgrave, Mike Overson. Have yourself a blessed week.